and welcome to My Perspective Monday, where we respect your perspective. How about that? We got another great show
This
tonight. We want to know, is college worth it? Is it worth it, y'all? All that hard work? Well, we're going to find out tonight. We want to start off with our cast here. Thanks God for our cast is here. So we're going to start off with Henry's son. Do you think college is worth it?
Well, I mean, it depends for what you want to do. I mean, shit, if you're gonna be like a doctor or lawyer or engineer, that's something, I mean, you need college. It's either you're going to college for money or education, right? If you just want to make money, I mean, shit, you can do OnlyFans.
Mm-hmm.
And, you
Okay.
know, like, and,
I mean, he
and
has a
fucking,
point.
like, I mean, and it depends on people. Like if you have to use what you were born with, you know. If you're ugly as shit, fuck, you have to play life in hard mode. You know, like shit. If you're playing life in hard mode, you're
If
gonna have
you'd
to
have
need some
told me we could have
education.
got this wild, John, we would have had 45,000 viewers by now.
On the word go.
Listen.
If
I
you
was
ugly.
look. I was
Hey,
gonna
but
oh,
it's
wait,
the truth though. Shit.
Henry. I was gonna
But the
prep
ugly
y'all.
ain't gonna help.
No, listen. I was gonna prep y'all for Henry, but I'm like, I don't want to do any prep. I'm just gonna let you.
Just throw him
You
out there.
told me I was blunt. Henry giving them everything.
And on the word go. As soon as the word
So
go.
wait, this is what you got to do. You got to jump from Henry to the esteemed Mark. That's the good transition, right?
I like Henry.
A little more
You know what? This is
Henry
really
got
good
energy. I
because
like that.
so many people think that they can think one way or the other. But I'm just kind of curious. What about you, Sean? You think college? Do you think it's worth it? Do you really do?
Honestly, I feel similar
Oh,
to
Sean is
him.
muted. Sean, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sorry. I feel similar to Henry. When it comes to things like, being nurses, like any like medical professional, something that has like practical knowledge that needs to be like handed down. Of course, do college, but if you just wanting to start a business, if you want to start making clothes, if you want to start being a photographer, go to YouTube University like the rest of the people post
Exactly.
2020 and make your money.
Well,
I don't think I don't think
isn't there a difference between knowing how to do something and having respectable people respect
I'm
you in
going to
that
say
field?
this. So I'm a designer. So, learning what I learned off of YouTube was very helpful, but going to a school would have given me like a lot more tools to be able to accomplish my goals, accomplish certain like projects or whatever. So I mean, I'm not ruling college as you necessarily need it. It's definitely a tool that could help you. You spending all that money, you might as well have some kind of tool. But as far as it being a necessity, I'm not sure. I don't think it's a necessity nowadays.
Interesting.
I'm going to answer it this way. Now, I know that there's a question in the question always. And I think what a lot of people's real question is college worth all the money I'm going to spend? That's really what the question is. Not worth it in
Right.
terms of things. And I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to say I kind of have the Henry feel of it depends on what you want to do in life. Okay. But I have 2 MBAs and I've never worked in any of the fields that I have my MBAs in. And I was going for a doctorate, but I'm proud of it not because of the paper. I care less about the paper they printed it on. The other things I learned and the people that I met that helped shape my thinking is what I'm grateful I went to college for. Because when you're from a place, you think like most people around that place that you grew up. You may think differently, but there's a lot of influence there. And college was almost like when I went into the Army. I'm not telling anybody to go to the Army. You meet so many people from everywhere, and seeing them in person and networking with them in person and talking in person helped formulate, I know for me, my way of the world a lot better. Because a lot of the success I had was just from meeting people in those very rooms. So that's the part that I and I don't mean this to be insulting. When I'm talking to someone, and it's not about big words, when I'm talking to someone, I can tell if they went to college or not.
Same.
I didn't.
Just by the way. Huh?
Oh, well, I can.
I agree with that.
I'm to hear the Dr. Mark Jones college. It's
Right now.
like the school better not hear me say, don't go to college.
Well, hey, look. I was the one that suggested this topic. All right.
Yeah.
And John agreed to have us do it. And I made my living in higher education now for about 30 years. And so, first off, is this a disclaimer? I'm not suggesting to anyone on this panel or anyone who's listening that you should or should not go to college based on what you hear right here. But I think I take a look at how we got to where we are now with our thinking. Now I go back, and Lisette can relate to this. I think I go back to my parents' generation and the generations before that. It was very rare for people to go to college. College was only for the wealthy and maybe a few other lucky people. Over time, things changed, particularly after World War II with the GI Bill, and a lot of people, especially men, going to college for free on the GI Bill. And then college became increasingly affordable and more realistic for the emerging middle class, to the point where going to college was the expected thing getting out of high school. When now, I heard somebody suggest this about 7 or 8 years ago. I think we've entered a phase now in our culture to where going to college after high school is not the automatic thing that it used to be. Mm-hmm. And I see some good and some bad with that. I don't know where it's going to take us. You do a little Google search on this, and you'll find that men in particular are going to college in fewer numbers. And some people say that this may be leading us down a very bad path. And it relates to what these guys were saying a while ago. Certain specialized fields demand people with college degrees. And if we have fewer people going to college, we may have a problem in those fields. Now, that said, should a person, is it worth a person's time and money to spend so much time and so much money and so much effort and so much heartache and so forth, getting a degree that, I hate to say this, but does not lead to a job? And that's where I think a few people are having some issues. You know, and I don't want to single out any field, because it sounds like I don't believe there's any such thing as useless knowledge. I think all knowledge can be useless, but you want to walk out of there with something that says this can help me in a job. Even some liberal arts degrees like English, because all companies can use people that can write, for example. But there are some fields where you really want to spend the time to get that.
I got a question about a stat you just said, because
okay,
out of college, high school, straight to college thing that people look at too much, because I just toted around my degrees, but I didn't go to college until I was 30. I think the problem is college isn't for everybody right off the bat, and we shouldn't force someone to go, because if you go when you're not ready, what tends to happen? People
you're gonna flunk out.
Wasting your money.
It's a mistake.
All of the above.
What'd you say, Henry?
No, nothing. I mean, no. I mean, from what I know, there is two types of person in the world. No, not yet. Not yet.
Come on, I'm ready for it.
For at least the people that I know, they go to college to look for something they want to do. They don't know shit, so that's why they're going to college. Yeah. For the people that already know what they want to do, they're gonna do whatever they want to do. I mean, shit. There is this little girl sold her fucking bathwater for $200,000. Okay, that shit is crazy. You know, if you're good looking and you know how to monetize that, I mean, fuck.
Get out of the
I really believe you can really be dumb as shit, but someone will always be there to sell you so they can make money. So I mean, like, all you gotta do is, be good looking.
That's hilarious.
Oh wow! I did go to college and everything, but the first time I went to college out of school, I went for my mom, because she wanted to be a nurse. So I went for my mom. Why don't you go to nursing school? Yeah, I went to nursing school and all, and it was like, no, I don't want to go to nursing school. Oh my God,
the same thing happened to me.
Didn't do so good. Okay, but when I went back for art, I graduated. So I mean, it's just like I
Right.
agree. You got to do what you really want to do. And I don't know about that good looking stuff, Henry. I don't know if that's going to always work. You know,
It'll
I-
work until you don't look good no more.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
gonna say,
I mean,
like, I agree. Like, I know for, I'm speaking on Black people's, like, we're always used to our parents just like conditioning us to make it out in the world. So, yeah, you have these dreams, at least how it was put to me. You have these dreams in art. You want to be a designer. You want to be an actor. You want to be a model. You want to do this, that, and the third. Have something in your back pocket, which at that moment in my life, was going to require, I have an associate's, but, it was going to require a few more years of my life outside of me dedicating it to my art, just to make sure I can succeed. Looking back on that, I feel kind of bittersweet because it got me to a self like preservation level. I'm able to survive off of my bills. However, I neglected my dreams for those few years. And when you come into like time sensitive dreams, like being a fashion model or whatever, which is what I wanted to become at that point, it kind of just like puts a hindrance on it.
for sure.
Oh my God,
But they're just doing what they know how. They're only parenting how they know how to, and they're only raising us for what they think is best.
Of course.
What about you, Jackson?
Like you said, it's basically what you got to go to school for. As weird as this is going to sound, yes, I wanted to go to college, but I went to college for my ex because I was pushed to go to college. You need to go to college. You need to pursue higher education. I was in, I don't know what you call lower education, but I did that for 14 years. I started school when I was 3 because my mom had to go to work. I was in 3-year-old pre-K.
Wow.
After that, I was like, yeah, maybe I should go to college because all of my relatives went to college after high school. I needed a break. Okay. On top of that, they were not doing what they needed to be doing. Going to college during a pandemic is no easy feat. Let's get that clear.
Right.
That was stressful as hell.
Wow. I mean, that's
I went to college off of somebody else's recommendation, and we ended up breaking up before going to college.
and then left you hanging in
it
college.
happened.
I mean,
They said they wanted to do something, and I was like, "You want to do that? I don't support it. Bye."
I think you should
Exactly.
definitely ask yourself, like, why am I going to college? Because whether it's your lover, whether it's your family, they're not going to hold your hand through the process. They're not going to be there to like do your
Always a
homework
mistake. Always.
and see it through. It's going to be you that's going to have to send it
You know
home.
what? Your family circumstances. I know people hate to say everything's equal. I remember when I got my associate's degree at 30. I had a friend that was 26, and he was like, "I have 2 MBAs. What's taking you so long?" I said, "Well, what does your dad do for a living?" He's like, "My dad works for the Department of Labor in Washington, D.C." I said, "And what is your mom?" He goes, "She's a neurosurgeon." Why? I said, "My mom drove a school bus and my dad worked at a library. They were happy when I came home with a B. You were going to college. You were born. You were already going to college. You just didn't know it."
interesting. I mean, I didn't mind going to college, but I ain't into all that book stuff. Give me the artsy stuff. Ain't it right, Sean? Give me the artsy stuff. That's
okay.
me. I ain't studying about
I
all
agree
that.
with Lisette.
All them
All
books.
that reading, all that reading and
Give
writing.
me the weird side of the campus with all the give me that side. I mean, that's what I was all about. You put me over there in the English side, Jackson over there. I'm saying like, you see, like crickets.
Right.
I'm saying take me back over there to the creative side, of the campus.
If you're not basically going to put your best foot forward in something that you enjoy, because like I said, I went to school for professional English. Like I want to create stories and everything. My main goal is to make TV shows. I want to entertain people. If you're not doing something that you're passionate about, you're not going to enjoy it. You're going to get burned out a lot quicker, and you're going to quit sooner.
Well,
I barely made it to my associates.
That's
Barely.
why.
By the skin of my teeth.
That's why I like college more. When I got the associates, I had like a 2.0. When I got the bachelor's, I had like a 3.2. And then when I got the master's, I had a 3.8. Because when you go to the master's, you don't have to take all this other stuff you weren't interested in. It's just, here's all the stuff you wanted. But back to the worth it. A lot of people will say, well, if you're not going to be a certain field, it's not worth it. But again, I'm going to say what I got that the overall experience with others was worth it for me. And then the part about the debt, we do realize
Oh.
create
For sure.
But
Absolutely.
we also help that debt get bigger. You have people.
I
that
had
go
this
through
conversation with
4
John.
years, They
Let's
won't.
listen to this one. I had this conversation with him.
They won't get a part-time job, but they go to college and party. And then how about the refund checks? You know, when the loan company said you, hey, here's the extra from your, we paid your classes. Here's a little check. You don't have to
Gone.
spend it. You can send it back. They know damn well these kids ain't
We're
sending
gonna
back.
spend that. I mean,
But to be honest with you, you're a starving college student, like that's been probably eating ramen for months on end, and now you get a piece of change. Of course, we're going to Applebee's tonight.
I was
We're
a
going to the Olive Garden.
student, but my
But-
friends who went to college and also worked, they weren't starving. I just didn't
look-
want to
look-
work and go to school.
I mean, John, look, those are all good points. But the kind of estimates is that the cost of college tuition and books in the past 40 years has risen a lot higher than the inflation rate. So it is more expensive to go than when I was going, irrespective of what you do with this other stuff you're talking about. So yeah, you're right. People want their money better, but it is more expensive than it used to be, even adjusted for inflation.
If
I got a question, and this one's directed at Mark real quick. And on top of that, I don't apologize for the language and none of this because Henry he done popped the top off. What
No,
pisses me
no,
off-
no,
no,
no.
no,
You
no,
know,
I'm doing it.
Henry's
What pisses
Henry.
me off
Don't try to
is
be
an
Henry.
English major with a minor in psychology. Mark, why do I need to take a class that has nothing to do with the courses that I'm interested in? Why do I need to take a
Interesting.
fundamentals of biology class?
Jesus.
I'm gonna interject there because it's what that question gives me is what Keone was bringing up earlier. Like you can tell when people have gone to college, and it's not just about big words; it's about how well-rounded they are. It's not
Yes.
just about being proficient in your specific study. It's more about well-rounded. Now, I do get your frustration in like,
Yeah, me too.
I want to design clothes. Why do I need a psychology class? But there are a few hints or a few lessons in that study that's going to contribute somehow at
Yeah,
some point.
absolutely. And Jackson, I'm not defending every course you have to take, and I'll be honest with you. Anybody that works in a university will tell you that sometimes university politics gets involved, and a certain person or a certain group of people that have the pull have the power to require a certain course. Yeah, you're right about that. But you never know. It's kind of like what he was just saying. You never know what might pay off some kind of dividend. I don't mean pay off literally. For example, I took a course in art appreciation, sitting and looking at slides of art. Okay.
Oh, that's fun.
Not my
I'll
thing,
do that.
but and I went into it dreading it, but I wound up, I don't know how else to put it, I wound up enjoying it. It was so sometimes there are unanticipated benefits of taking a course that you dread, and by the same token, sometimes you sign up for a course you think it's going to be great, and for whatever reason, it really sucks. So, but to get back to kind of the well-rounded thing, that's the argument. So you won't be just focused on one thing. I know well-rounded is kind of a broad term, I know, so to speak, but
Well, you
that's the
know,
argument, although it's not a perfect system by any means. Yeah, you're
You
right.
remember I told you I didn't go to college until I was 30. I remember the conversations that I would have in networking with people that have no idea what they're talking about as compared to when I went. And now I feel like I'm talking about various things.
Well,
Say
we
that
need, somebody, we need somebody with an engineer degree to fix this feedback we're getting. So
I think it's
Look at me.
I don't know. It was John was talking. I don't know.
I remember there was a class that I took in college that I would fall asleep in every day. I said, okay, today I'm not gonna fall asleep. Wah 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 wah. And I'm just like, I'm saying, like, stay awoke. Wah 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 wah. And when I would wake up, everybody be walking out in class and going like,
That was my psych
Whoa.
class, but that was because it was online. Like I couldn't keep up much when it came to being in psych. Like, and it was one of the topics I was most interested in. But when I got into class, I just could not freaking stay up.
Isn't it amazing?
And sometimes as a
Amazing.
professor, A
I got
professor or
something I would
teacher
like to
can
say
make
on
a
that.
bad class good or a good class bad.
Right. I got something I would like to say on that because I would literally go to sleep in one class, and that was my English class. Everybody would get mad at the professor because he'd be like, "Why do you let him sleep in class, but none of the rest of us?" He was like, "He has an A in this class. I could wake him up right now and ask him a random question about what we're talking about, and he will know." He did exactly that, and I gave him a 3-word sentence, and he was like, "Go back to sleep."
Since we're just throwing out stuff, I cheated in algebra. I suck at math. I cheated.
I loved algebra. I
Ugh.
loved
I hate
That was one
math.
of my good. I love math.
I like probability and statistics, but everything else, calculus, no. I hear numbers and stop listening.
Yeah, stats, yes, but algebra, no.
Oh,
I mean, I had
Yep.
this one professor one time. She said, I don't give out A's, and if you get an A, you better be glad you get a B because I'm not giving you an A. I said,
Who
you
gives out
watch it.
A's?
I'm gonna get me an A.
Who gives out the best grade?
I aced it. Well, it was like an extra push for me. Did
You
anybody
know,
have some hard
this-
instructors? You know,
What made me mad, I'm not sure if this is a new thing that they've decided to do, but the proctored tests to where you're recorded while you take the test. And if they hear
You
anything in the
recorded
background-
now?
Yes, they give you a notification and they say, "What is that noise? We need to see your environment." You got to turn the camera around 360 and they want to know what the noise was. And if the origin of the noise isn't found, you get an automatic F. I got sick on my science final, right? Had to run out of my room, but didn't even make it. I'm on camera throwing up in a cup and she gave me an F. I've never emailed the president of a school so fast.
that's crazy.
Jackson, do you know why they do that? And I'm not defending your particular situation. You know why they do that? I'm looking at the guy that's above you on my screen because he cheated in algebra. And he's standing there shaking his head, and he cheated in algebra. And he wonders why we have proctor tests now.
Guess what's wrong? Guess what? You got to learn how to use certain skills to.
I am
The
so
last
glad
time
that
I
I'm out
cheated-
of school now.
Look, they was
I'm
cheating
so
all
glad
the
I don't have to
time.
worry about it.
Yeah.
Listen,
Didn't somebody say
that you was a fine young thing? You probably had people doing your homework.
Well, I had an opportunity to cheat. There was people sitting beside me, and everybody was cheating. I'm saying, like, don't you see the teacher there? I mean, everybody's cheating. Then what's the answer right there?
Oh, you know what's funny? In high school, I did it was called Allied Health. It was like a CNA class that they gave to certain high schoolers, 12th graders. There was one really difficult test we had, and nobody really prepared for. We made this like desk and floor tapping system. So like 2 taps is a B, 4 taps is a D. So like most of us had the wherewithal to like get a few wrong because we had one person that we knew she was going to get everybody, like she was going to get an A. She was going to get close to 100. So most of us had enough wherewithal to just be like, okay, let's not get every one of them right. So most of us got A's or B's, but there were some who just lost their track and lost the count, apparently, straight F's. There was one person that had a whole 12 on the test.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
See,
What you guys will do to cheat is amazing.
well,
You what do
look,
you
If you can,
my answer to
if you
that,
can
though,
use that to actually study, you
It
would
would
got
be-
an A.
That's what I thought about afterwards. I was like, bro, if
It'd be
we
less
just
effort to
use
study and
all of
get
this
the A.
energy, if we had
Say
just
what,
used
Mark?
this energy to freaking study,
just,
we
go,
would
just
not
study.
be
It's
here.
less trouble. Yeah.
Just
Well,
like
you know-
Sean said, there's a system to it. We literally came up with, after you finish your test, you put your head down, and depending on what you hear, you tap your finger a certain number of times. I forget if it's drag your foot, clear your throat, cough, or move
See
your
what I'm
desk a
saying?
little bit.
Interesting.
Hey, listen, y'all young people got all the fancy stuff. We just wrote the answers on our skin.
Hey, I did that in elementary school, and my teacher came behind me and hit me so hard in my back. I didn't never cheat again. Never.
Could you imagine if we got
When
like
I was growing up, someone told me this, that if you ain't cheating, you're not trying.
You know, in Naruto, nerd moment. In Naruto, one of the exams to pass to the next level of being
Yeah,
a ninja,
yeah.
it was a
Sasuke
physical
used the
test.
Sharingan.
But the test was already too hard. They made the test too hard for them to know. The point of the test was to gain intel. So the only way you pass the test is that you cheat from somebody else and get the information from somebody else because they're ninjas and they have to get intel.
Wasn't this always a student's that phrase you hated the worst when the teacher comes in and greets you and says, "Pop quiz"? Like, oh, really?
Oh man.
Like Eddie Murphy,
Oh.
Nutty Professor.
Can I go to the bathroom?
Come on. Not a pop quiz. I picked the wrong day to come to school. I mean,
people were so dumb. You're a D student, and now you decided to cheat, and you don't know how to cheat and make your grades go up incrementally. You're just getting straight A's now. Like
That happened to me once or twice. Yeah, the teacher was like, "Oh hell no, there is no way. You don't do homework, you don't do shit, and how the fuck did you get A?" You know, like, and I was like, "Oh, and you have exact same score as the guy sitting next to you. How did that happen?" I'm like,
Somebody lying.
Listen, I'm not trying to be racist, but anytime we were taking a test, I went and sat next to an Indian or an Asian. I'm just
You're
saying.
supposed to be next to the Asian guy.
that's funny.
It's
I
funny,
mean,
but
wow. The things you
I
do to try to
agree.
get over, I
I
don't
agree
miss
with him
school
on
at
that.
all. I don't miss it at all.
I don't
Mm.
either.
Henry, aren't you work in IT, right?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I didn't even graduate high school.
Wow.
That was racist, John.
Henry, I thought you lived in part of
Oh
California.
my goodness.
I didn't-
Hey, you see, I might.
Oh, your audio went out. I think your audio went out.
Sorry, audience. We're having technical difficulties on Henry's son's side.
Be.
Oh!
Drop that fire. I'm sorry.
You know what? I muted Henry, and it's not Henry. So who must it be?
I don't know.
Oh man! But you know what? Wait, Bill said we assuming. But let's get back to the whole "is it worth it" part. We talked about is it worth it monetarily wise? Is it worth it education wise, or just the overall? And then Mark brought up a good point about how it's just increasing. I feel like it's going back to rich people because like these college costs are getting so high.
Well, it's either going back to rich people or people that can qualify for financial aid. There are a lot more people on financial aid and scholarship in college now than was the case when I was going through. So it's kind of both. I think the people, well, that's maybe it's not accurate, but it seems like the people that might be being left out are the people in the middle. They're too rich for financial aid, but they really can't afford to go.
He ain't wrong. If I go back, I'm gonna need some help.
You get in that weird spot where your parents don't make enough money to you to go to college comfortably, but they make a little too much money for you to get enough aid. Those people that are right in that silly little wedge. And
as far as if is it like worth it or whatever, I mean, nowadays you have plenty of people like ourselves. I'm not using my degree right now. You're not using your degree right now. Like a lot of people who've gone to college and gotten a degree are not using them today. Like, so as far as it's worth it, I don't know. I still think, college gives you a bit of maturity as a level of maturity. And again, like self-roundedness, if you will. But being worth it, I feel like life has a way of doing it anyway.
Well, let me just throw out a couple of things. First off, and I guess this is the exception to the rule, but it seems like some of the world's most successful people are college dropouts, like Bill Gates, et cetera, et cetera. But if you do a little digging online, the estimates are that still, even though the college degree does not mean what it used to, a college graduate on average makes more money than a non-college graduate. Now, Question: is that because they got the degree, or because they were already well positioned before they even went to college, and that's why they're making more money? So we don't
Or
know.
because your employer understands that you might be dead.
There's a couple things. Because I was in Delta Mu Delta, which is, it doesn't mean I jumped around with candy canes. That's a that's a fraternity where you have to have a 3.73, I think it was when I got it, or higher in a master's program. And just being in that fraternity, putting that on certain resumes for certain jobs, it was opening doors for me. So again, that's that networking. Who are you meeting while you're in college? If Henry and Jay went to college at the same time, we knew each other, went through the same business course, and I'm the one who makes it big at first, and I'm thinking of, you know what, I need to build a team for this business. Who am I calling up? Hey, Sean. Hey, Henry. Hey, Jay.
Right.
So, again, it goes back to that. What are you going for? Some people go for I've known people who went just for the experience, but that's a costly experience. And then you get to weigh do you want to go to a state college? You know, you want to go to Florida, or you want to go to Florida State? You want to go to North Carolina, or you want to go to, like, it's a different cost for that as well.
Oh yeah.
So
another thing that was said is that it depends on, we say, what you do with it. I know a lot of people who say, well, my college degree didn't do me any good. Well, I take a look at that person, and it's not the degree's fault. Okay, I mean, and one guy said he had a degree, and this is going to sound facetious, but he said had a degree in construction management and wasn't put into use. Well, the problem was every dollar this guy made, it went up his nose. Okay, so that was his problem, not the degree.
That'll do it.
I know another guy that he had a degree in marketing or something like that, and said he didn't use it. Well, it's because you were too dumb to use it. All right. Some of my people used to say, and I still say this, that a college degree is like a fishing license. But it doesn't mean you're going to go out and catch a big fish just because you have a license. Or it's like a fishing or fishing equipment or something like that.
So
great credentials, but they don't know how to use them.
So in other words, you got to work it. Because you got to work whatever you do, whether you don't go to college or you do go to college. You got to put some work to it. But I saw a comment down there that someone said that it's kind of bad to get out of college and you're in debt. You know, so should not college be free?
You know what?
No.
People say that. But listen, I'm gonna tell you this, and this is not to defend the debt of college. There are people that's gonna find a way to get in the debt where they go to college.
Exactly.
That's
So,
true.
I don't want to say just because you went. How many people don't go to college and they're still in debt? How many people have paid off their loans and they still in debt?
Yes.
You know, and the only thing I hate about it, transparency. I went through bankruptcy in 2017. They got me out of my house. They got me out of everything, but the one thing they will not clear is the damn student loans. Why are the student loans so powerful? So wait, you let me out of a house that cost $392,000, but you will not let go of those $12,000 in student loans that
I never considered that, John. That's interesting. I never thought about that.
You can.
got an explanation for that?
Jack was going to say something. You cut him off.
You said
Right.
what?
I got two things off of this because there was a reasoning because I was trying to see whether or not I qualify for student debt cancellation. It's only $4,000 that I owe. I still got 8 years to pay that off, but I wanted to see whether or not they would do it. Apparently, you need a full-time job and work over 36 hours a week. I was like, so you mean to tell me that I have to have a full-time job and work over the allotted amount of time in order for student debt cancellation? They were like, well, it doesn't seem as though you have debt that's imperative to your economy, so you can pay that off easily. You can't just pay off $4,000 for me?
Yeah. No.
Wow.
You're not really wanting for it. You're not really like hurting. Like your life isn't like.
I mean, it would be nice if I didn't have to worry about it no more, though, right?
It would be nice if none of us had to worry.
Yeah, I was about to say the same with a car payment, a house payment too.
Yeah.
But on top of that, what Sean was saying before, if you're not going to use your degree, what if you?
I only got $2, so you need to give me that whole number one.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I think college should be free. Let it be free. Come on.
Absolutely not. I mean,
Right.
because you talk about taxes now, funding.
Yes.
Funding.
Somebody's got to pay for that. Who's going to pay
Somebody's
for
going to
that?
pay for it. It won't be
I
free.
said the same thing
Let
about
the
health
government
care.
pay for it.
We pay our taxes. So no, absolutely not.
Yeah, the government does pay for it. When we pay them, they
When
take
we pay
our money
them.
to pay.
I said the same thing about healthcare. Like these doctors are highly proficient. They can't work for free. They can't be surgeons for free.
I
Like
just think it's too high. Maybe they should
I'm
come
so glad I
down
have
on the
insurance.
price, Sean.
I
Come down
agree.
a little bit.
I agree that it's too high, but having people
Yeah.
go to college for free is I think is a catastrophe. I see all kinds of problems there.
I coach acting and modeling, and it's funny because people will always say, well, why do I have to pay for this? And I'm like, how do you think they pay your coaches? We don't coach for free.
We don't do it for free.
Everybody, like everybody.
You've got to want it.
Yeah. But again, that's not taken away from what everybody's saying. I think everybody's in agreement that college costs too damn much. Like that guy that was running in New York said rent is too damn high. College is
I remember that guy.
way too much. If we want everybody to be educated, why are we making it harder and harder and harder for people to go and be educated?
Well, but John, we do. That's a good point. However, we do fund public education through grade 12, and that's something that historically has not been the case in most societies.
Nor effective.
Well, that's debatable, but we at least do provide free public education through 12th grade. And I don't believe, as we said, I mean, I think one needs some modicum of education to be able to get by. But is it a fundamental need to go to college and get a degree? I don't think so. In some cases, it's not.
Yeah,
Some
Even
people
just
may
to,
not
like,
want to.
accomplish Yeah.
It's just not for it's not for everybody.
it's not. It's not, and I
I
don't
think
think
Henry's muted again.
Henry,
Very animated though. And
it's not muted. His iPhone AirPods are just dead or not
You
working.
just had to get that jab in, didn't you?
Hey, it's got an Apple product.
You better stop jabbing at Henry before he comes back on your mic.
all I hear he has to say is
He said shit 10 times and we missed it. No, what was funny was I met Henry coaching a class, and on the very first class, I asked everybody, tell me what's special about you. So everybody's saying what's special about them. And when I got to Henry, Henry goes, well, shit, everybody sounds so special. I'm boring as F. And I'm like, Henry, you can't curse in class.
He is wild.
No, but he's a good kind of personality. But you and Sean, Mark, just talked about something that's a whole another episode to get into as well. The disparity in these high school, junior high, and elementary school, and how education is handled in different states. It's such, it's not an even. That's a whole other show. And I'm thinking,
yeah. A lot of us don't receive a healthy education, shall
John,
I say?
me to go back to college.
well, I don't look. Okay, real quick. I don't know how it is now. I'm not saying it's like that everywhere. So I was born in a predominantly black, 95% black neighborhood. Not a lot of money in the neighborhood. The whole 9 yards. My mom cheated and used my grandma's address before I could go to another school that was predominantly not black, right? A C student in that school because I was dealing with a lot of other issues, as you can know, going for a school where everybody doesn't look like you. I got kicked out of that school for fighting and had to go to the school in my neighborhood. Within the teacher was telling my mom I'm a genius. I was a straight A student now. And she said, you're doing so good. I said, I got to get out of here. She said, why? I said, I'm learning in the 6th grade that I learned in the 3rd grade at the other school. And
wow.
First introduction. Wait, everybody's not being taught the same in every community.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I
I
got back.
understand that completely. That's an issue.
I got back to that school that I got kicked out of, and I never got anything lower than a C again because that was my motivation.
So yeah, like the government funds K through 12, but it's not like regulated the same. It's not like the plans aren't like regulated the same as everybody else's. So K through 12 in Florida, God rest its soul, It's not the same K-12 in California. They're different. Like,
We're not gonna bring up Florida with South Carolina.
Not only that, it doesn't vary.
I know exactly what he's talking
As-
about too.
As John was just saying, Sean, it's not just state to state. It varies even within a city. I'm assuming that John was talking about two schools in the same city, right?
yeah.
And not just in big cities. In small towns, you have huge gaps between what one school
That's
does
true.
and another school does. I don't know what the answer is, quite frankly, but
Really, in the poor communities, it's not. It seems like sometimes it's not the same learning scale or material scale, so it's
very often,
sad.
yeah. And for that matter, that translates to college too. I mean, we tend to think that all college degrees are the same, when there's a huge disparity. I don't want to start calling out names, but as far as good and bad, but a college degree from one place does not mean the same as from somewhere else. And that's why I say law schools and medical schools, they take a look at your GPA, but they also take a look at what the major was and what the school was. Because a 4.0 from school here is not the same as a 4.0 as a school somewhere else.
I've been training a new nurse at a clinic before, and we both have the same titles, the same numbers behind our numbers, letters behind our name. And they're just like, show the new nurse the ropes, show her around the building. So I'm like, I'm preparing to draw a patient's blood. It's just like, oh, we didn't do that in school. And I'm like, what?
Excuse me?
One more time? Run that by me one more time. They didn't do what?
You didn't do that?
She's like, I went to EPI. I was like, okay.
Look,
But
Martin,
let me follow up with that one if you don't mind, because I thought that would say with nursing and fields like that there was some standardization, and that
I thought
you
so
have
too.
to pass boards, things like that. I mean,
The test I had to take, I had to physically show people how I had to do a practicum. Like, I had to do it.
Do you
I
think
ain't
maybe
not
it's
talking
because
about
that the
that is the
nurses
thing.
are short? There's a nurse shortage or something? You think maybe
Yeah,
that's
that's
why they
'cause
don't
of-
get everything like this?
I think that's with everything around the world after COVID. Like, things are a lot more loose. I helped the coworker today. She had a second round interview for a job she was going to get, and she had to have another person verify her identity. It was like I was a notary. Like, they didn't want to hire a notary to do it, but it was like I had to do the steps of a notary just to get her this job, where normally you would have to go to a notary, or the company would pay a notary to finalize your identification. I think the whole world as a whole has gotten a lot more loose on their rules because of COVID.
and then there'll be
And I think
that's true, but I think
feels like that.
Sure.
but it's true. That's true, but the problems you're talking about predate COVID, though. I just thought that
that's true.
with things like with some fields, like say nursing and medicine, that no matter what school you went to, you have to pass some standards that are laid down by either the state or the accrediting body for that particular particular profession. Say like, the AMA for doctors. That's standardized no matter what medical school you went to.
I thought so too.
play into because schools do like to keep their graduation percentage up.
Oh, yeah.
GPA up. So two things that I hate the most is when I was in, I think, elementary or junior high, when they came up with the No Child Left Behind thing. That was annoying, because now we're just going to pass. We're just going to keep moving people along. When I was little, if you suck, you failed, and then that was your motivation to all your friends keep moving up. That was your motivation to get it together. You talked about earlier, you didn't want to name any schools because I know you're a professional, but hey, I'm gonna tell you like this: when I lived in Fayetteville, I took some tests for a couple of my friends at Fayetteville State. Let me tell you something. I had been out of school for 8 years. Let me test for Fayetteville. Not saying all of them were, but you had to take a test online, and I didn't pass it. I said, hey, I didn't pass that test I took for you. I said, yeah, I'm cheating. She said, oh, don't worry. You get to do it again, and it tells you the answers you got wrong.
Oh, well, yeah, that's nowadays.
Wow.
I got a question on that. Now, you just brought up a very valid point there. Did they come up with Child Left Behind, or did we come up with No Child Left Behind?
I got a
That's what
higher
Sean said.
score than her, and she took the class.
That's the thing, though. But just like Sean said, we literally had a motto coming up in school: a class that cheats together graduates together.
Wow. And
Amen.
speaking of graduation, I have a question, Henry. Henry, I know you said that you did not graduate. Do you ever wish that you had graduated and went to college, or
Good question.
how you feel about that?
How do I? Well, I mean, I'm Asian. I'm like the only Asian that didn't graduate high school or go to college. You know? Everybody here went to college. The only time I went to college is to drink. I pretend to go to college. Yes, I mean, shit. If I can, but then at the same time, I will say that I will do over. But at the same time, I don't think I will because, I mean, I don't have the school education, but I still make good money. I make about like a little bit over 6 figures, like give and take, you know. And then that's all because I speak 3 languages and I have a good mentor.
Oh,
And then, yeah.
See that?
And
That's
then,
my
getting what you
point.
got,
That
using
is
what
my
you got
point.
to get where you need to be.
There's a lot of
Oh,
people
yeah, I
out
mean-
there that really have not been to college. You know,
yeah, I mean, it's not even the college. I really think that it comes down to how or what kind of person you are. If you never struggled before, if you have an upkeep to pay, you know, I mean, you know, if you short on your rent and you be like, oh shit, how am I gonna make it, right? How am I gonna do? What can I do? Some people don't have the mentality of, you know, you gotta do whatever you gotta do. Like me, you know, like shit. There has been a time that I'd be like, oh fuck, I might need to suck some dick for the rent right now, or something. You know, I mean that's a joke, but
You know what I just thought about? Like, you know, I had
That's
to.
how far I would go.
I just thought about after he said that.
I've never been.
Yeah,
that
he's
desperate for money.
permanent. We need him.
The
I have 2 friends. One's a PA, and one does only. Can you say OF only friends?
yes, you
Yeah.
I
can
don't know.
only
Okay.
friends.
Okay.
Yes.
So I have 2 friends. They make the same money. One's a PA, and
It's
one does
crazy,
only.
right?
Yeah, but you know what? That PA is something that, unless he gets, you know, in trouble, that's something that can these things that come up, they go away. Like
Yeah.
that's good for now, but and also you can't predict what's going to happen to you. You get in a serious accident and can't keep up your physical appearance. How's that working out for you? You know,
Yeah.
the people that are watching you for that. That's what people are short-sighted in that. What's going to help me in the long term? And that me saying that is not pushing someone to go to college, but again,
Because you could be a doctor and do the Doctor Strange thing and
I
get in a
Well,
bad
see,
accident.
What John is talking about though, that's what mom and dad are concerned about. Is that you know you've got this thing in front of you right now that looks good when you're 17, 18, or 25 even. But what about when you're 40 or 50? Okay,
Yeah.
and that's when
Okay, hold on.
that foundation may make a difference.
now,
That is a good question. Okay, so think about it right now. Like a normal OnlyFans girl, right? Normal, they'll make about 100 grand a year. If you do it for 2 years, you can down pay a house.
Yeah.
You can down payment for a house, and then you rent the house out. You rent the house out, and then the rent will pay the mortgage. And
Yeah, I mean
then
that works for
couple
you, but
years.
not for everybody though.
well, not only
Right.
I mean, yes, not for everybody. You're right.
not only that, Mark Lisette. I was going to say when Lisette said it, we have a lot of people that are rich and have it. We got to stop taking the outliers and making it. John Amici used to say this: when you point out the outlier, you make a case for the majority. Everybody on OnlyFriends and everybody on Blank Hub and everybody on TikTok and everybody on YouTube is not making that kind of money. So when we see people that's doing it, it's like, oh, I could just do that. That ain't everybody, you know.
You're right.
The same with athletes.
Just like every actor, everybody looks at how much the top 20 actors make, and they go, "I want to be." Every actor ain't making that.
Well,
I
and
could say the same. We could say the same thing.
Most people don't make a living in athletics or music either. Same thing.
Same
We
thing
could
with
say the
that.
same thing about the college graduates, though. How many people graduate college and can't find a job in it for years afterwards?
it's
It's
not
an outlier.
It's not
But that-
always, and it's not like what Mark was saying. It's not always the degree's fault too. I've had friends that went to college, and I'm like, when you go to college, you ain't got a motivational bone in your body. You just creating debt.
The degree ain't gonna do it for you.
You're the problem.
He's a nuclear physicist. Do you know where he works?
Where?
Dunkin'
Not the
Donuts.
it. Dunkin' Donuts.
sad.
The fucker, really?
His parents
Nuclear
paid for
physicist.
college. His parents paid for college. They made him go. He went. His dad was a nuclear physicist. He learned. He went through it. And when he got out, all he does is.
Could you imagine being that parent though? Could you imagine being that parent? You send your child off.
It's their fault. He said I didn't.
Yeah,
want to
it
go.
is.
He said
It
I don't
is.
want to go to college.
Well, that brings us back to the question. That is college, the automatic thing to do anymore? And we're kind of coming to the point where, some people think, well, maybe it's not for me. I mean, and they may be wrong, but we have one problem we have with colleges, and it's kind of always been this way, but particularly in the past, say, 30, 40 years, it's really just extended adolescence. And it's getting more and more that way. I mean, I think students are treating college more and more like it's high school. And they're expecting, we have the snowflake, the helicopter parents and so forth that are just making college an extension of high school. And John, what you mentioned a while ago about the thing at Fayetteville State, is another unfortunate aspect of college nowadays, in my opinion. When I was in college at University of Georgia, there you see right there, they didn't care if you flunked out. Now, the universities, they're high on retention because when they lose students, they lose money. They don't only lose the money the student pays in tuition costs, they lose the money the state gives them. The state subsidizes every student they have. And so that's money going out the window. So now they kind of got smart in a way and saying we need to keep people here and do everything we can. And sometimes in a way that's a good thing, but also in a way it contributes to the watering down like you're talking about because we don't want to lose students. And that problem's only going to get worse because of demographic trends. Demographic trends indicate we have fewer kids coming out of high school in the next several years. So colleges are really, really trying to get people there because they're going to have a hard time with falling admission in the next couple of years. Sorry.
That's why almost all. Remember in the beginning, a lot of them didn't want to do online. This is I'm talking 10 years ago when they started
20
doing
years ago.
college, and now almost every college has an online program.
Absolutely.
From somewhere. I remember when I first went to college and I failed my first class, and the professor told me, he said, "This is in high school. In high school, it's a teacher's job to get you to pass. In college, it's your job to pass."
Now, let me just say this. I think it's terrible when an instructor or a teacher, whatever grade, you're in, class, whatever, when they don't care about you learning. They don't care they don't care whether you get it or not. You get it. I mean, and they do this even in elementary school. They don't care. To me, I think that's sad, especially in elementary school. But I know we're talking about college and all. But you can tell when a teacher's passionate about what they do because it makes the students interested. But instead, just up there, wah, 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 wah. I think there's a, wah, 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 wah. Wow.
I think in the college case, just like
I never stood in front of a class and said what you just said, wah, 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 wah. But I mean, I'm passionate about what I do, but I don't lose sleep at night if somebody does not want to learn it. That's up to them.
That's not what I'm
especially
saying.
when you're in the college days where you're paying me, like you're using your money for the education. Like I'm not going to also make you pay attention to or be engaged. That's not my job.
I understand that, but
on the other end of that blade, though, I've literally had a teacher after I've told her I don't understand the material. Can you explain it to me again? She says she doesn't care whether or not we learn it or understand it because she gets paid either way. If I'm just another
that's
zero
just
on
a
your
trash
paycheck,
teacher.
Well, you see, Dexter, I think that's the next up part.
Disclaimer. Jay lives in South Carolina. That's all that needs to be said. All right. But
okay, so what about it? I might be in South Carolina, but I'm still from Brooklyn. These teachers.
I know some teachers like that.
I have a serious question, Lisette. You said elementary. What teacher doesn't care enough that you won't get outside the lines and that you keep putting the circle in the square hole? That's what I want to know.
Honestly, there are teachers like that. They don't care whether you get it or not. I get paid. I'm going to show you how to do it. And if you don't know how to do it, then go get your mama or somebody. And nowadays they're teaching stuff nowadays that parents don't even know what in the. I mean, they know, math and stuff like that, but the system that they're teaching it now, the way they're teaching it, and you got to follow the directions that the teacher would give you. The
This
steps.
Common Core math
And
bullshit.
the parents are saying like, I know how to get the answer, but I don't know how to do what she's doing.
It's not
Common
even
Core math
necessarily
crap.
ask your parents. I don't remember the last time I had to sit down and ask my mom to help me with something because I could just use the internet.
Google
that's
everything.
Oh, my niece. I was helping her a while ago. It was like 8 years ago. She was in, and I'm doing the math. And I'm like, okay, 18 plus 17, carry the one. She said, what are you doing? I said, what are you doing? Am I doing? I'm carrying the one. She goes, what is that? It doesn't go there. She's like, it doesn't go anywhere. You don't do that. I'm like, well, what magic trick? How am I going to get 10?
They changed math?
Yes, they change math
Yes.
constantly.
Oh,
Math
like,
is always
why?
evolving for whatever reason.
Why?
You have no idea.
I don't know.
I have my 11-year-old, and then he drawing lines to count, and I'll be like, why are you drawing lines? They're perfect fingers.
Right, you got toes,
What are you doing?
nose, ears, and 1, 2, 3.
Just like Lisette said, even the teachers don't care whether or not you learn it. My niece will literally go to her mom to ask her a question, and my sister-in-law will literally say, if you don't understand it, Google it.
Well, you see,
Wow.
that's the thing. It's not that teachers don't care; they don't get paid enough to care. I mean, to me,
So they don't care.
it's really,
Mark,
it's
chime
really
in.
stupid that
Chime
I
in. We
dis-
need
I
that
in
Mark.
disagree with
America
both.
the teacher is very underpaid for reasons I don't
I
understand.
disagree with both, Henry. I don't think that a teacher is going to become a better teacher if you give them a raise. If they don't
Well,
care, they don't care. But I think I
well,
have
I
to disagree.
mean-
I have to disagree with Lisette. I think that what she's talking about is the exception rather than the rule. But again, we're
Yes.
talking about elementary school versus college. That's two different animals. By the time somebody's 20 years old, you're standing in front of a class, doing your best, trying to deliver information or stimulate thought, et cetera, et cetera. Well, you see, 20 people wide awake and engaged, and you see one person
Okay.
asleep and doesn't care.
I
That's
have
just
been in this room with what was it? Was it psychology of art? Some weird stuff. I had to pass the class. I mean, honestly. And it's like everybody would be sitting in the class and they're like, what in the world are you talking? What are you talking about? I'm hearing you, but what in the world are you saying? And then one lady, one girl went up to she went up to him after class. She said, where did you get this from? I've read all the books. I looked into books and all these other books online. They do not have this in there. Where did you, this is something that you came up with. And he said, yeah, I wrote the book. I said, oh man. I mean, how are we going to pass this class? I mean, he wrote the book. I mean,
That's an outlier.
we got to understand it.
Be careful when we say professors and teachers like it's a large number. I have a combined 16 years in school, and I think I ran into one professor, and that's only because of a language barrier. She had a heavy Indian accent, and she was teaching algebra, and half the class couldn't figure out some of the things she was saying. So I feel like that's still an outlier. Almost all college professors, they know what they're there for. If you have one of those ones that's been there long enough and they're in I don't really give a crap attitude, I'm not saying those don't exist, but that's again an outlier.
Absolutely. You're right.
I mean, it makes it
Got a
hard,
point.
I mean, and
Yeah,
when you even ask them to explain it, it's still going to explain it the way they've been explained. You're saying like, oh.
We gotta make sure we don't do that thing that we do when people usually talk about other stuff, where you have that one or two experience and then you just label it across.
And
the
then you
board.
make it the whole
Right.
blanketed whole
Right.
experience.
Right. I've literally had classmates sit there and go back and forth with the professor 15 times. I've literally listened to the professor and re-explain something after having to re-explain it once before. 15 times. If you don't understand it after the first 10, shut up.
And then those same students will come up after class saying the teacher don't know what he's doing. He don't care. He doesn't do what he's supposed to be doing. You just didn't retain it, babe.
It's not so much that
Yeah.
it's some teachers don't know how to teach.
No,
In other words, teachers
But
don't
again,
always
that's the
know how to
exception.
teach and explain.
That's the
So
exception.
therefore they go zoom, 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 zoom. You're saying like, okay, all right. And then, then some people can go zoom, 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 and you understand it. I mean, but some like,
I still say it's an outlier, like John says.
That's not a mass problem.
Yeah.
Veil of Shadow says, I had a professor who streamed his class so the class could review and study later if we didn't understand something. Now, look.
that's nice.
Yes, but here's the
For some
thing.
classes.
Just because the teacher goes the extra mile doesn't mean
That's
the
not
teacher
everybody else's responsibility.
is underutilizing.
Mhm.
Is not trying to do their job. So we got to watch that too. Just because somebody goes far and beyond doesn't mean every other teacher stinks.
Right.
True.
Exactly.
Yeah. Too. Look at both sides of the coin. We've been around a lot of students that, quite frankly, don't give a dang. And you know what? A teacher is a human being too. I only tried so many times, and after that, you gonna have to figure it out, son.
Well, look. This is John. This is my mentality. Okay, it's not that I don't care if the students don't learn, but I can't make them care.
Right.
I mean, I can do what I can do, but I'm also a bit of a fan of the not. I don't want to intentionally inflict unpleasantness on people, but I think college is supposed to be a challenge. I think they should work for it, and we should make them work for it. And that there should be a certain sink or swim aspect to it. And just because you fail a course or flunk out of college does not mean you fail at life. It's just that it may not be for everybody. It may not be for you, or it may not be for you right now. Come back in 3 or 4 years, maybe.
And that's true because I had to do that myself.
That don't mean I don't
back.
care. It's just I can't make
Go back
somebody
and
else
do it.
care.
All right.
That's true. But sometimes your mind, your frame, your mindset is not there,
Yeah.
and you gotta put it down, go back and come back again. But you know what? Can we do some final thoughts right now? Is that okay? Is that all right? Can we do some final thoughts?
Well, you call us, teacher. Tell us who goes first, who goes last.
Okay.
All right. What?
I'd like Mark to end on this in this one.
Okay. What about Sean? Can you? Give us
Final
some
thoughts. We brought up a lot of good points, and I would say the biggest takeaway for me is that college can offer networking opportunities. It could offer you a normalization of the field that you want to go in, not just like procedural, like this is what you're going to do and this is what you're learning to do these procedures or whatever. But it's not a necessity. It's not for everybody. You know, if you just want to go into business, maybe discover YouTube University, which is free.
100% true.
All right. What about you, Jackson?
Personally, off of doubling back onto the initial question of is college worth it? It depends. And in that, you have to ask yourself a lot of questions. However, we did bring up a lot of good, valid points off of those questions. It might not be for you right now. It might be for you later. But are you willing to take that plunge? That's down to you.
Henry?
By the way, Henry, I thought
Oh.
your screen was like a green screen this entire time.
That's you.
I thought it was an effect for whatever reason.
No. In college, it's worth it. I think some people need it, some people don't need it. If you're ugly and you're stupid as shit, you definitely need it. And if you happen to be good looking but you're dumb, maybe you don't need it. You know, just
Interesting.
figure it out, you know.
Woo! What about you, Melvin?
Who the hell is Melvin?
Oh, not Melvin. I'm starting. I'm gonna
He's
use
got
that.
4 or 5 names.
Ooh, Melvin's my dad's name. That's my dad.
You must be warning 3 or 4 states. All these different names.
John.
I'm telling you, this man got like 18 different identities lined
I
up.
know. I can't keep up.
Why don't you learn the one for what venue we're in? All right. So I was gonna.
John Melvin, Keone
You're-
Walker Stevens.
I also agree with you got to find the time to go to college if you want to go to college, but also make it a little easier yourself. If I could go back and do it over again, somebody told me to do this. But of course, we're not. Listen, you are allowed to get a job when you're a teenager and save your money, but that's not going to happen. We already know that. You're allowed as a parent to save. I don't care. Once you have that kid, save $5 a freaking month. Every little thing helps. And kind of, if you know you want to go to college and you're hell-bent on going to college, then set up ways to help yourself when that time comes, whether that's getting excellent grades so you can get a scholarship, whether you're an athlete, whether, again, you have a job and you're saving money. There's a lot of things you can do. If you're undecided about going to college, the only person that needs to be convinced that you should go to college is yourself. Don't go because someone else wants you to go, because that puts extra burden on you. We know the people who grew up and none of their family members and their parents and their grandparents went to college. So you get that family pressure of, you're going to be the one. But maybe you weren't the one. Maybe your son is the one, or your sister was the one. So we got to stop putting added pressure. We can tell people that it's a good tool, but it's got to be them decision, because they're the ones that have to live with that college debt when they get out. So if you're not going to pay off my debt, don't tell me when to go to college.
That's good. You know what? I would say that, the Bible says a man's gift would make a way for them. So if you know that you have a gift and you like something that you really enjoy very much, you would like to, learn more about your gift and go on to college. If you don't want to do it, then just don't do it. Don't waste your time, your mama's and the government's money. Just go ahead on and do something else. But I will say this: if you decide not to go to college, make sure you have a plan that you can live the life that you want to live. So, and make the money the kind of money that you need to make. So, but I would say, always try to improve yourself. And if that means going to college, then I would say go to college, but whatever you do, just make sure you got your heart in it. All right.
Well, everything John said, I'd modify it a little bit. I would say don't totally disregard your parental advice, because they may know some stuff that you don't. But like you said, don't go to college just because somebody's telling you to go, or just because a lot of your friends from high school are going. All right. But one thing we have not mentioned yet, and that's the value of vocational education, which we find in VOTEC schools and community colleges. And for a lot of people, going to college or going to school beyond high school is that route. For a long time, we kind of unofficially said, well, going to college is up here. Going to a tech school is here. And that shouldn't be the case. Going to a tech school is what some people need to prepare for a certain career. And you're right. They don't need to waste the time reading Shakespeare and taking courses like that. They need to go learn a trade. And if they're happy, if they're content with that, and they're willing to go with the lifestyle that comes with making that kind of money, and sometimes it's very good money, then more power to you. But I just think we're entering a new era now, and we'll have to see where it leads us.
Okay. Well, I just want to thank everybody for listening to My Perspective Monday. Thank you so very much for tuning in. We really appreciate you. Stand the course. You know what? Don't forget to tune into the other shows sponsored by County Productions. And just thank you for just being a part of this My Perspective. We really appreciate that, all the cast. Thank you so very much. Y'all have a pleasant evening.
Take care.
Take care, everybody.
Yeah.
What an
Thank you.
Odegaard did she say about the Bible?